What is up? Is the Figure Hunter, and today we're going to talk about the new Nike Metcon 10 shoes. We're going to look at it in a few different fashions. Number one, we're going to talk about what Nike has done to evolve the engineering of a CrossFit shoe or a shoe designed for CrossFit, starting with their Nike Metcon 7 up through the 8 and the 9, and now then looking at what the issues were of the past. So the Metcon 8, my actual favorite shoe, the Metcon 9, which I've done a review for, and why it's not my favorite Metcon version. And then what is changed. Last, we're going to look at those engineered points for what has changed or evolved in the Nike Metcon 10. So first, let's just look at it hands-on so you can get a little bit of an idea of how it looks. This is the Jordan sort of colorway. Is that the right word? Is that how people call it? You can see it's got the sort of Ramaleo feel. We'll talk about the actual bulleted points to the engineering design of the Metcon shoe. And we'll actually look at it in reference to the Metcon 8 because the 8 is very similar to the Metcon 7, which is when the engineering came out. So with that, that is the Nike Metcon 10 in sort of the Jordan white, black, red colorway, which I just think is freaking awesome. So that's the Metcon 10. So let's first go back in time and talk about what was built into this. So we're going to look at a few basic things. Number one is called the Hyperlift plate. So you can see it Hyperlift here, but it's this plate in here that was originally an insert where if you were going to do a lot of heavy lifting, a little insert that would go in the Nike Metcon 5 and 6 and elevate your heel a little bit, and this just built it into the shoe. It makes for a harder heel strike when you're running, actually, if you're a heel striker on your run, but it actually adds a ton of stability and a little bit of a lift for Metcons, for workouts that involve squats, full depth squats. So that was great. The slightly elevated heel is a big piece. Secondly, it has the rope grip design. So I think Nike is the shoe that really accomplishes this. Other shoes have slight, but Nike has always just crushed it. Like this has a rubberized feel to it. This doesn't have it as much, but on the inside, so if you're climbing a rope, this grips and hugs it effectively well. It's obviously got a bored out pattern for it. Third is the laces lock, so that if you're doing double unders, you can tie down your laces, because for some reason, shoelaces come undone when you're doing double unders, so they had the laces lock. That's actually pretty genius. Fourth is the toe grip on top. This generation had a little bit of rubberized texture if you're doing lunges. It actually holds as you cup your toe down on the floor. 5 is the tread design. So the tread design was sort of originally made, or it's always been made, to have more internal grip. So grip for inside workouts, whether you're doing sled pushes or burpees, just the grip design is made for more indoor traction. And the 6 is the heel edge. So this little heel edge is like a plasticky feel to it. It's a TPU, plastic, so that when you're up against a wall doing headstand push-ups, it slides smoothly. There's not a grippy feeling, so it slides more quickly. And then the last is what they call the Nike React X, I think. Well, Nike React foam is originally, I think it's called the React X now. Maybe that's just with the 10, who knows? But this cushion coupled with the Hyperlift is supposed to give it some forgiving heel and some good cushion support along with the support of the Hyperlift heel. So what are the issues of the past? So when you look at the Nike Metcon 8, which is very, very similar to the Metcon 7, the primary issue was it was just a minimal base, so maybe not as stable and a lesser of a hyperlift. Maybe not as stable in the foot when you're doing heavy lifts or a lot of dynamic Olympic lifting at heavier weights. And so introduced the Nike Metcon 10, the Nike Metcon 9. The Metcon 9 has a much more established hyperlift, as well as they widened both the heel and the toe box area. And so it is like a big old shoe compared to the two. Let's see if we can get a way to see it. So it's wider across the heel, wider across the toe box area. But it just has this sort of large, wide foot, as well as a more extensive hyperlift. And obviously they made the rope climb design much more dramatic. They made it sort of like a fashion statement while also being purposeful. They did sort of widen the base of the midfoot, so you actually had a more effective rope climb design in the Nike Metcon 8. So that's the 9, and the 9 had a bigger problem to me, which is why I don't wear it. It was just clunky. It felt like you're wearing Frankenstein's boots. And the heel here, this area is actually raised up higher, so it actually would rub my ankle. But the biggest thing was that it had, I mean, I've worn these a lot, and it's just got no bend and flex to it. Like if you look at the Nike Metcon 8, and I've worn these a lot too, it just has the ability to cave in a lot easier than the Nike Metcon. It just doesn't do it. But that's exactly how it feels. The weight went up from 13 point something to 15.2 on the ounces per shoe, but it just is not a comfortable shoe. It's not a comfortable shoe unless you're doing super heavy lifting and you just want purely the base support, purely that, you know, like you're kind of wearing mini lifters in a workout, but that's not functional for actual active CrossFit workouts. So that's the problem. I have disregarded the 9, and I did a review saying why I don't like it and why I actually went back and bought the 8. So I went from the 7 to the 9, didn't like the 9, and went to the 8, which is what I've been wearing. I do feel like it's a dynamic and comfortable, flexible shoe at the right weight with all the engineering designs. So last is we're going to look at what is different about the Nike Metcon 10. So besides just the sleek design, what's different with each of the formations? So number 1 is the hyperlift. So it still has the hyperlift built in. You can see it written there, hyperlift. It's built in, but it's more minimized. It's actually been lessened a little bit to loosen some of the rigidity, as well as it's been lined with a little bit more firmer foam so that you don't have as much pain in the heel strikes. You have more forgiveness with heel striking, specifically with running, but you still have the hyperlift. It's just been evolved to a little bit more minimal, although still there. Number 2, you have your rope grip. Now the rope grip is less pronounced than in years past. This is actually a rubberized texture, so the rubberized sort of feel is beneficial, but I would assume if you're doing a lot of rope climbs, that's going to wear down over time. But you still have this grip here. It's obviously, it's a far cry probably from the 7-8 series, and then obviously the 9 had the most pronounced. So you get a little bit of narrowing through the midfoot, and then less overall. Obviously you have a considerably less on the hard rubber side there. So that's the rope grip changes. The laces lock is totally different. So they have what's called a laces tuck, lace tuck. So I guess you're supposed to take the laces and like shove it inside here. With each workout. I don't know what I'm going to do that. I didn't even use the laces lock as much as I thought I would unless there was a double under workout, and then I did. But laces, there you go, laces tuck. Again, I love that they're doing so much engineering to try to evolve a CrossFit shoe that is functional as it can be for CrossFit. Number 4, so that's a big addition besides the evolution, much more concise hyperlift, and I'll talk about the weight in a second. Number 4 is the toe grip. It's been lessened a little bit, but it's still there. It actually, you know, like the 9s had the most pronounced toe grip, definitive ridges of rubberized texture. Here, you get a lot of flex or breathability, but then you also do have the toe grip. 5, the tread design. It's got a more evolved tread design because this is a little bit smoother, and this literally says 004 sticky rubber and is much more grippy, but it also has these ridges to it, which would make it much more pronounced for, again, a lot of things where you're gripping indoor rubber. So that is fantastic. Number 6, I said the same, but what is the point? The heel edge, smooth TPU. The heel edge is still smooth, just as smooth. You do have a little bit of rubber that comes up there, so if you're looking at the camera, the rubber actually might be a contact point because you would really want to be rubbing on that. So maybe they lessen that in a less effective way. And then the Reactix foam. Where is it listed? Yeah. React X. It is React X on this new version, but it's filled with a more foam on the inside. So as they lessened the hyperlift, they injected more firmer foam so that it is less painful or more forgiving for heel strike, especially heel strike running. And then the last thing I would say that's significant is they have kept a wide base, but they have not made it like a Frankenstein shoe. So it is got the same width on the base for stability and lifts as the actual size of the Nike Metcon 9, but it's just not as thick, wide, bulky of Frankenstein's boot. And in the end, this is 12.7 ounces versus 15.2. So you have a 17% reduction in weight. So you have a more forgiving hyperlift, more flexible, more foam, firmer foam injected, and a lot of engineering designs which have sort of done away with what might be the real problems in the Nike Metcon 9. So that is the Nike Metcon 10. Would love to know what you think. Of these colors, of the design and the updates. I just had to do a review for it because I do want to give credit where credit is due, and Nike has put the most engineering into their shoes from what I've seen from any CrossFit shoe. Other CrossFit shoes have elements of these things, but Nike just has all of them and a little bit more pronounced than any other CrossFit shoe on the market. So Figure Hunter, thanks so much for watching.